Hello, welcome back. We are still in the Silverstone paddock after the race. I was not loading my car back into the trailer because it wasn't coming home with me. All of the cars queued up in this shot here are heading off to CTS Motorsport for various repairs and upgrades. For my car, I really want to do the Roadsport upgrades myself and make a couple of videos to show you lot. But ultimately, I had a really tight schedule in October and I needed to get the car upgraded, and I'll go into details on that throughout this video. So, yep, this was me saying goodbye to the car after a fantastic weekend at Silverstone, and next time I see it, it'll be a bit grippier. Oh, hello, welcome back to the garage, and we are reunited with the car, now in Roadsport spec. I picked this up from CTS Motorsport today. Nice, fresh, new tyres, which we'll talk about in a moment. So what I'm going to do tonight, I'm actually on a really tight schedule for this, which is why, CTS helped me out with the upgrades in the first place. So I just need to just do a quick walk around the car, mainly for the benefit of this video, just record, document the upgrades, and I'm just going to give everything a kind of a final wipe down and clean for the weekend, because no idea if I've mentioned this on YouTube yet or not, but this weekend the car is going way down south to go on a shipping container, and from there it is heading over to the Caribbean to meet me in Barbados at the start of December. So we're doing the Caterham Caribbean Cup, which is a long weekend of lots and lots and lots of racing. There's sprint race formats that we've been doing all year in the UK. There's endurance races, a bit qualifying. There's about as much competitive seat time in Barbados in one weekend than I've done all season in the UK, which is crackers. And I'm very, very fortunate to be going, and that means I'm on a really tight deadline. So I'm going to do some last minute prep on the car now. The car will be going back onto the trailer tomorrow. I'm at Croft on Wednesday just to shake everything down. I'm not going to kind of go too hard at Croft. Shake everything down, make sure everything's good, and then it's heading down. Then it's heading down south. So yeah, really tight schedule, and I can't really. Nothing can go wrong. So what I'll do is I will walk around the car in a few minutes with some bits taken off of it and explain what the Roadsport upgrades are. Right, so first up on the changes, tyres, fairly obviously. So this is probably the most significant change to where the car's going to feel, I think, in combination with the next item I'll show you. And these are Toyo R888 Rs, so you'd be well familiar with those if you've ever heard of a track day car before. Now these won't be what we run in Roadsport next year, so these have been a bit of a temporary measure for the last couple of years for the Caterham Motorsport series, whilst Avon's Motorsport division went into administration. So previously the Roadsport cars and the 270 cars would use the ZZS, the Avon ZZS, and everybody's very happy to say that the ZZS is coming back for next year under the brand name Nova. So I've used ZZRs, not ZZSs. I've used ZZRs on my Lotuses before. I've always really liked them. The Caterham community seems really fond of them. So I think the general consensus is that it's a great tyre to have back. But the reason I've got R888s is because the ZZS supply wasn't in place in time for the Barbados logistics. So the Toyos will be the tyre that we run in Barbados. So I'll be taking a few sets for all of the racing we'll be doing, and then I'll be switching to the Avons for testing in kind of the early part of next year. So tyres, obviously a huge improvement over the Academy tyre. The Academy tyre is a great tyre for doing as advertised, which is low grip, allowing the car to move around, so on and so forth. And then as we go up through the Caterham ladder, the cars get stiffer, a little more racy. So the tyres is the first thing to upgrade. Moving on, in order to have a chassis that is kind of able to keep up with those tyres, the next step is the anti-roll bar setup. So can't remember if I discussed this in any real detail, but we had 2 anti-roll bar choices in the Academy. So we had, the car came with what we call the orange bar. So the colour coding is via the bushes. So we had the orange bar that the car came with, which is the softest of the bars. We've got the red bar, which is the kind of the middle one for the narrow track cars. And then for Roadsport, we're allowed to add on the green bar, which is the stiffest of the bars that we can run. And I think, might need to fact check this, but I think another difference with Roadsport is, from Academy, is that Roadsport can actually choose to run 0 bar at the front, i.e. no bar whatsoever. Academy, we had to run one of the 2 bars, but I think in Roadsport, technically we get 4 choices: no bar, orange bar, red bar, and green bar. To go with that, we get a rear anti-roll bar, which we had nothing on before. And as you can see, this is adjustable. So there's 4 adjustment slots, plus you can run it disconnected. So again, 5 in theory. Now I understand that you can't run that one, or you shouldn't run that one, or something, I can't remember. So there's no fitment in that hole, but the other holes have got the little ball joint fitments ready. So when we're adjusting during testing or whatever, during a race weekend, we can just pop that off and try out all the different settings. Brake pads choice is now free. So we had 2 compounds we could choose from in Academy. Roadsport, you can run whatever you want. And I'm sure everybody's got their preferences. I've obviously not had a chance to work my preferences out yet. So CTS have put their pad of choice in there, which I believe are Mintex branded front and rear. And to go with the freer pad choice, we also have the option to run a brake portioning valve. So that's a new addition. So as you can see, the brake lines that have gone from front to rear, they've now had this spliced into it. So what this does is it's technically not a bias valve, right? It's a bias adjustment. You would need to have independent master cylinders for each front and rear circuit. With this, all this can really do is reduce the pressure going to the rear. So with it set to full back, that's as close to stock as possible. And the more you click it forwards, the more it reduces the brake pressure it allows through to the rear, in theory moving the brake bias towards the front. It's not clear to me how and when we will use this, if at all. So I guess more on that later. I feel like that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. So I will, my next steps really is I'm going to degrease, just spray some degreaser all over the wishbones and the exposed chassis pieces underneath. Let that dry overnight, and then I'm going to put some corrosion blocker on, just because for the Barbados logistics, the car may be sat out in the weather for a little bit. Obviously, it's going to be at sea, so just belts and braces really, just to stop the whole thing being covered in rust when we arrive in the Caribbean. All right, quick update. I've given all of the wishbones and chassis bits a wipe down with the corrosion blocker. I'll show you it in a minute. And just point another couple of things out that CTS have done while I've had the car. So they've given it a really good service, all of the filters and fluids and whatnot. What they've also done is put new discs on. They've done the front wheel bearings and probably some other bits that I've not really appreciated. Bit of a shout out to them though. Like, they've really cleaned like under the car. I mean, you remember the testing I did on the Friday before Silverstone? The car was minging, and they've given it all a really good cleaned down under there, so it didn't take me much work at all to get all the corrosion blocker stuff sorted. And another kind of difference, you could technically do this for Academy, and the advice I was given was just leave it with the hard lines on until you end up with a rear axle replacement, and then do it then. But I'll just see if I can change the exposure a little bit without grabbing a torch. No, I can't. Take my word for it. This is now a braided flexi brake line. So to get the brake valve in the cockpit, the front to rear brake lines are now swapped with braided flexis instead of the copper, formed hard lines, or cuneifer or whatever they are. So there's now flexis coming out of the transmission tunnel into the valve, then back through another grommeted hole, and then all the way underneath above the diff and onto the rear beam. So historically, that's a better view of it. Historically, this was a hard line coming into here, which was just a bit ropey when if you were taking your pads out or swapping your pads on a race weekend or whatever to move the caliper out of the way. You were straining a hard line, which is never ideal. You always sort of think you've only got so many flexes of that hard line before you kink it. So that's done away with now. We've now got some nice flexes on there, which will just make it easier to work on. I think the only other thing I forgot to mention for Roadsport regs was the air filter. We now get a choice of I think it's a K&N like cleanable filter. I don't know if there's one in here yet. I need to check, but I think anybody who's been around cars for a long time know that everybody knows they don't make any difference, but you can guarantee every single car on the grid will have a K&N filter in come race day. One final update for tonight. This is the corrosion block stuff I've used. It's kind of bread and butter stuff for Lotus owners and most of the kind of nice weekend cars or classic cars or whatever. You just kind of spray it on a rag and wipe everything down with it. It's just like fancy. You could do the same with WD-40 to be honest, but this stuff has got a lot more longevity to it. Here we go. Welcome to Croft. So I was here today on a Ryan Hooker test day. Ryan Hooker runs a kind of syndicate of coaches in the Caterham, general motorsport paddock, I guess. And as part of that, he occasionally gets some semi-exclusive test days at tracks like Thruxton and Croft. These are brilliant days to go on if you can get onto them because they're really low numbers, practically get the place to yourself. Test day rules, so no problems with timing and coaching and all that sort of stuff. It's not like a track day. So here I was testing out the car in Roadsport spec for the first time, and as you can see, also testing out a new camera. This camera may or may not feature in next year, but I was just playing with it and some angles and getting the VBox data onto the overlay and things like that. It is a 360 camera, it's not just loose on the bracket, so I can do things like this and kind of turn you through a corner with me, track overtakes and being overtaken and various other funky things once I get the hang of it. As for the car itself, it was great to finally be on these tyres. I've driven plenty of track days before on sort of semi-slick tyres, and I've been sort of salivating at the prospect of sticking them on the Caterham. I've resisted the temptation all year to bolt them on to the Academy car for a go, so it was great to finally feel that assertiveness underneath me. I think the best way I can describe the Academy car, it's amazing fun, and I'm not criticising it. It does exactly as advertised, but you've always got to apologise to it as you're putting the inputs in. You can't do anything assertively. You've got to be quite delicate with everything you do, particularly around the brakes. With these tyres on, you could start being a little bit more aggressive with the car. Don't get me wrong, it's still a relatively low grip car, still will slide around on you, but you can lean into the brakes. You can feel those harnesses pushing into your chest under braking, and when the car does break away, when you're sort of turning, it's easy to maintain momentum going forwards. With the Academy tyres, you really had to back out and let the car regrip and regroup and then go again. But I had a lot more fun attacking the car like this, and really looking forward to driving it throughout next season. So we'll wrap this up with one last VBox Vision video for all time's sakes, and I think the title I'm going to use for this video when I upload it will be something like Caterham Academy final episode not to be dramatic or anything, but just this is it. It's not an academy car anymore. My academy year is done. The racing I'll be doing in Barbados. I'll definitely put a video or two up to cover that, hopefully. But that's kind of in Roadsport spec, so that's I'm considering the academy year done now. And very soon, next few weeks, months, whatever it'll be, the 2026 academy class will be receiving their cars, and I sincerely hope somebody from the 26 campaign documents their year, so I'll definitely tune in, and I know other people will as well. I've had some really nice feedback throughout the year. People have enjoyed following along, and I've enjoyed making them for me. Really, I'll definitely binge this all back on a rainy afternoon at some point soon. But yeah, in the meantime, I will sign off there, and the next you hear from me will probably be from Barbados. How cool is that?